Hello, I'm Professor Jimmy Burns. I'm going to give you a little bit of an intro into some of the work I do and a little intro about me. I've been at University of Virginia since 2010, and prior to that, I was served in the military in the Air Force, and so I have some practical engineering experience working on the C-130s, and then at the Air Force Research Lab. Then I actually did my master's and PhD through UVA. Then started as a research professor, and then tenure track professor, assistant professor, and now an associate professor. And so let me share my screen with you here real quick. And this gives you a bit of an overview of the type of things that we work on in my group. And so what we work on is environmental fatigue and fractures. And so in large part, the effect of environment on the mechanical properties of kind of high performance metallic material systems. And so we do this as a part of obviously the material science department, but also as a part of the Center for Electrochemical Science and Engineering that's led by John Scully and Rob Kelly. And so the part of the puzzle that we bring is obviously that interaction of the electrochemistry, environmental effects with the mechanical behavior, and then clearly try to understand its subsequent interaction and overlap with the metallurgical features that govern the behavior. So how is this implemented? Well, we're experimentalists, so we get into the lab and try to smartly design experiments and run those experiments with high fidelity techniques, carefully controlling and varying either the metallurgy, the environment, or the mechanics. We get the data, and then we do a lot of materials characterization and work in the NMCF here at UVA, our characterization facility, and are a big user of that facility. So what are some of the different branches of how we interpret and how we investigate how the environment impacts the mechanics? Well, one, we look at crack initiation. And so this is shown here. This is some X-ray tomography work that then shows some modeling compilation. And so we have a fracture surface where we impart, marker bands and mark the fracture surface. We have a corroded surface, so you see a crack growing from the corroded surface. Here's a EBSD scan looking at the grain structure. We do some X-ray tomography to be able to understand the underlying constituent particles. And then this is some work that we collaborated with Purdue University to integrate all of that testing characterization then in with some crystal plasticity modeling. And so we try to do that to try to understand what aspects of the corrosion, what aspects of the microstructure are governing that behavior. And then we try to transition those to the engineering world and work with, whether it be OEMs or so original equipment manufacturers like Boeing, Northrop Grumman, those folks, or work with the DOD or the Navy or the Air Force or some of my old colleagues to be able to say, well, here are the features that are causing the damage. And so here's either how you would model it or how you would mitigate it. The second thing we look on, so there's crack initiation, but the environment will also impact the crack propagation. And so we have some high fidelity techniques. And so this is just a standard fracture mechanics based bar with some notch in it. And we can put that into an environmental cell to where we can carefully control the environmental cell. And we do that for a variety of different things: aqueous environments, vacuum environments, high temperature environments. So a variety of different environments. This is just one example. And then here's the type of data we get. We get different growth rates. And this, for example, as a function of different applied potentials. And so that's we gather that kind of data, and like we talked about before, then we go in and we do a lot of characterization. And so this is kind of a unique technique that we use, this high-res EBSD, to where we have standard EBSD, and then we can extract geometrically necessary dislocation densities near the fracture path, and then that gives us a nice idea of what is actually contributing to the fracture. And so if we vary the environments and you see varying amounts of plasticity, then, in our world that we live in, we think that's hydrogen impacts. And so how does that varying levels of plasticity impact the damage mechanics? And so We also kind of can go at a deeper scale and do TEM, focused ion beam lift outs and TEM of that near surface region to be able to try to gain insights. So we do all of that, but then, there's also then just the standard characterization of what different aspects, whether it be the grain character, different microstructure features impact the growth kinetics. So, we have several different programs going on that, but in a broad sense, it's essentially looking at the environmental cracking behavior and the mechanisms. Lastly, and I kind of touched on this before, is we have a lot of interest in these fundamental understandings, and we'll go down to the atomistic dislocation scale with the best of them. But one of the things I think is unique about our group is that we get that data and we go down in scale for understanding. But we also try to go up in scale to say, how do we leverage the data we have and the understanding that we gather to be able to impact engineering prediction, whether it be prediction, mitigation. And so we do a lot of work with modeling and trying to understand what assumptions need to go into an engineer scale model, because they're not going to be looking at atoms and dislocations, but how can our understanding impact their modeling and how they use the components to ensure safe flight in the instance of aircraft, or we work on oil and gas pipelines, we work on nuclear canisters, we work on marine applications, and so a variety of different applications. So with that, hopefully that sparked a little bit of interest, and I look forward to talking to you, and if not in my group, seeing you here at the University of Virginia.